negative information about the child's other parent. For example, mom could be saying things like, your father doesn't care about us, he never pays his child support, or your father used to beat me, or your father's just a no-good person who drinks too much. He doesn't really love you. If he really loved you, then he would do this or that. Now, much of that can be false. That child can have the best father in the world, and the mother can be interfering with that father's opportunities to provide what the child needs: emotional support, financial support, just the father's presence. The mother can interfere with that, and at the same time tell the child, look, your father doesn't want to see you. That is an example of parental alienation. And eventually the children can come to believe that that's true, that their father really does not love them. And that's not the truth at all.
Now, is this something that our listeners and clients who need to get expert testimony involved, or is this something that they can try to prove up through the court by keeping some type of journal or log?
Well, I think a journal is a great idea. And there are some companies out there that actually provide a journal. There was one called Mom's Time Tracker and Dad's Time Tracker, or even a notebook about what's happening daily, the father's involvement with the children, the father's attempts to be involved. All of those give the court something solid to look at, and hopefully it gives the court more information so they can have a more clear vision of what's going on, better understanding.
Now, for those individuals who want to keep a journal, what exactly does the Dad's or Mom's Time Tracker consist of?
Well, the Dad's and Mom's Time Tracker consists of, I'm looking at a date, August 3rd, and on August 3rd it will have, things to pick up. Don't forget to get. And so it'll have lines where that'll help you parent, school activities and special assignments that happened that day, issues that came up, you can jot those down. Special expenses. Say on that day, August 3rd, you bought the children a new pair of tennis shoes. Well, jot that down. It gives the court and people that look at this journal, and maybe your children someday, something to hold in their hands that actually shows how involved their father was, how hard he worked to stay in his own children's lives. So it can have all of that. Times you picked the children up, times you delivered the children back to mom.
What about for those situations where the dad is an out-of-state parent?
Well, if the dad's out of state, there are numerous ways he can still stay involved in his children's lives. With computers nowadays that have cameras on the computers,
right.
Most young children younger children are very computer literate. And if the father will make time to sit down in front of a computer and converse with the child in real time with his image on the child's computer and the child's image on his computer, that goes a long ways to help fathers stay connected. Writing letters, actual handwritten letters to your children are priceless. Children can read those over and over again. Simple things. How about something like a child's mug with the father's picture, or better yet, a picture of the father with his children doing something they both loved, so that every morning when that child picks up that cup, he sees or she sees themselves doing something fun with their father. A reminder that they do have a father who really loves them.
Now, what about those fathers who are not computer savvy or who don't have the resources, funds, whatever the reason may be, to purchase a computer?
Okay. Well, there's computers that are available at libraries, but there again, you could get some assistance from the librarian and maybe get up on that. But, there are other ways to stay connected with the child. How about, a phone call, a regular phone call, providing you can get that past the mother, and focus on something that the child really enjoys doing. Like if the father is the father of a daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, and the daughter loves to play soccer. And the father can make a point of talking about the child's soccer every time he calls. Maybe they can create a dream team together. What would be the most ideal women's Olympic soccer team that the father and his daughter could put together? The goal here is for the father to create something special that he does with his daughter that only he and his daughter do. And the children typically will honor that. Like if mom says, well, I'd like to make a dream team with you for a soccer dream team, the child typically will say, no, that's something me and my father do. So find some way to do something that's special. Plan a vacation. Talk about something that they both experienced that was so special, it's a delight to remember.
Now, what about when the children are at a young age where they wouldn't be able to sit in front of a computer?
Mm-hmm. Well, at that point, the younger the children are, the more challenging it gets to be for the father. If the children are very, very young, what the father needs to try to do is have a lot of contact with the children for very brief intervals. That's what the father should shoot for and think about. How can I make contact with my child just briefly every day, every other day? And it may require him being creative. And how about this? How about if the father had a pillowcase made or a comforter made with his name and names of his child's friends and books that the child liked having? And this could be the child's special comforter. And every day that child, took a nap, then that child would have the father's name and special things that the child related to on that comforter. It would be a reminder every day of that father. But when the children are infants and toddlers, it's challenging for fathers. The long-distance dad has a lot of recommendations like the pillow. How about this? How about gift packages where fathers of very small children put together a package of a lot of very small items, each one packaged in its own special way, in an envelope, in a colorful Kleenex, and all of them packed in a box. And the deal is that the child gets to unwrap one a day, and you can easily put 30 small things into a box the size of a shoebox. And so every day the child looks forward to opening something from Dad.
Now, what about if they do make the blanket or the Afghan, but mom doesn't allow the child to sleep with it or lay with it or have access to it?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very painful, and that does happen. That does happen. Now, if the father is a deployed dad overseas, there's really not much he can do about it until he comes home. If he's a traveling dad on the road, that can be very difficult too. But if he's a divorced dad, he may want to weigh the pros and the cons of, say, moving next door or close to the child, to the same city if the mother's moved away. I know fathers who have moved to 4 or 5 different states so they could stay connected to their children. One place that is neutral ground typically for fathers where they can see their children, that's at school activities, after school activities or special things that their children do after school. Mm-hmm. Typically that's a place for fathers to see their children.
Now, what about those dads who have infants, as we were talking about, that if they have this out-of-state plan, then they're worried that their child may not recognize them, or it will take longer to be able to recognize who Dad is.
Right. Well, I'd say that's a legitimate concern. Let me just look at it in my case. My daughter's mom relocated at one time, and we were really butting heads.